Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of Iconic Freedom, The Formula. Here we set a standard for accountability and responsibility, the ownership of your choices and your outcomes and everything that follows. Let each care for self and all will be cared for. So when I talk about the formula, we talk about that periodic chart that you see on the various websites that this is posted on, where you create those elements that come together and bring harmony to your life. And if one of those elements in your life is not working, then you extract it and you reevaluate it and, again, bring that harmony to your life. The weight falls away is the subject of today's episode, because something begins to happen when a person starts living with their clarity, with their reality. Life gets lighter. And it's not because your responsibilities disappear, and it's not because, all of your problems suddenly vanish and because the world suddenly becomes consistent. Life gets lighter because you stop carrying the things that were never yours to carry in the first place. And that's an important distinction. Many people think that heaviness comes from life itself, but often that heaviness is coming from what they've added to their life. Their, rehearsed conversations, we've talked about that before, the need to be understood, the constant management of other people's emotions, imaginary arguments, the fear of how they're going to be perceived, and all those efforts that they put into image building and keeping up the image, the need to control, things that were never theirs to control. Emotional bookkeeping is a note that I wrote down the other day when I was at my desk. I was like, oh, that's an interesting term. And so I wrote it down. And there's a emotional bookkeeping and there's the resentment ledger. The story that people keep retelling about what happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, yesterday even, that weight feels very real because it's been carried for so long. But familiarity, as we've talked about, is not the same as necessity. And I think many people mistake this chronic burden for identity. I love these things that I hear people say all the time. That's just who I am, or I'm someone who worries, or I care too much. I heard that one again the other day. I have to think ahead. I have to make sure everybody is okay. No. Often what they're describing is not identity. It's conditioning. It's habit. It's fear practiced so long that it becomes the personality. And when your clarity and reality begins to enter your life, I think something surprising happens, that you don't necessarily gain something first, you lose things. You lose that urge to rehearse a conversation. You lose the need to explain yourself to others. You lose the compulsion to try to rescue people, to try to save them. And these people are committed to their own chaos. You might lose interest in arguments that produce nothing. You start to realize, what is the point of wasting my spit on this person? Casting pearls before swine. And you lose an attachment to being seen as good or right or noble or misunderstood or indispensable. And I think when those things leave, I think space appears, the weight is lifted, your energy, your vitality starts to return. I think your breathing changes. I think your sleep improves. These are all things I've noted for myself. Thoughts quiet down. I think time starts to feel different. Even the body knows before the mind would admit it. And I think your shoulders will soften, your jaw unclenches, your stomach stops. What was the thought I had? Your stomach stops bracing for a war that isn't happening, because the body keeps score of burdens the mind insists on carrying. The body will keep score of burdens that your mind simply keeps carrying and will not let go. So let's make sure this is clean. This is not indifference, and this is not selfishness. This is not becoming cold. This is becoming accurate. Caring doesn't mean carrying. You've heard me say that before. You can care about someone without carrying their choices, their burdens. You can love someone without managing their life. You can support someone without sacrificing your peace of mind to prove it. You can be compassionate without becoming responsible for outcomes that belong to another. That distinction changes everything. Many people are exhausted, not from life, but from overreach, from emotional trespassing. And that's kind of an interesting thing to say, because you trespassing on other people's experience as if you know for them. You can't. Most of the time, you can't even know for yourself. So you got to figure it out for you first. Let each care for self, and all will be cared for. But from emotional trespassing, from trying to do internally for others what they can only do for themselves. I've often said this to clients and staff. I cannot effort this more than you will for yourself. And because they cannot accomplish it, they call themselves overwhelmed. Well, of course they are. They're doing impossible work. When clarity and reality enters, responsibility returns to its rightful owner. Your choices belong to you. Their choices belong to them. Your responses belong to you. Their reactions belong to them. Your peace belongs to you unless you hand it away. And that is when the weight begins to fall. Not all at once, sometimes in layers, sometimes dramatically, sometimes so quietly, you only notice one day that something that used to consume you no longer does. And that is the growth and the development. Not performance and not slogans, not posting quotes online while living in turmoil, hoping the meme is going to give you peace and quiet. But real growth often sounds like this. I no longer need to participate in that. I don't need to answer that. I wish them well. I see what this is. I'm going home. That is maturity. That's your freedom. That's your sovereignty. That's living with clarity in reality. And maybe, most importantly, when the unnecessary weight falls away, you become more available for what actually matters to you. Your health, your work, your word, your standards, your peace, your real relationships, your actual life. Because many people don't need more time. They need less drag on their life. They don't need more motivation. They need fewer self-created burdens. They don't need a new personality. They need to stop carrying false responsibilities and making those false responsibilities their personality. Clarity doesn't always arrive as fireworks. Sometimes it arrives as relief, unburdening. That song that says change can come on tiptoe, as silence. as the absence of a burden you once thought was love. So today, ask yourself honestly, what am I carrying that was never mine to carry? What role am I playing that no one truly assigned to me? What exhaustion in my life is tied to unnecessary ownership of something that doesn't belong to me? And what might happen if I set it down? Because the lighter your life may not require more strength. The lighter life does not require more strength. It just requires more truth, more reality. Okay, hit that like button if you would. Share it with your family and friends. You never know how it might support them in their endeavor. All the fun links are below, and if you're inclined, feel free to subscribe on Buzzsprout. I am on X and Truth Social, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. The link to my newest book, The Christmas Cookie, Stories from the Counter, is listed below. I'd be grateful and honored if you chose to pick up a copy. It's a collection of heartwarming stories that I quietly say unfold the very principles that we talk about here each week. And until next time, stay sharp, stay sovereign, and as always, remember, let each care for self, and all will be cared for. Make it a great week.